Seems like a nice guy. You know, they all do the same thing. Come out, say a few words in Armenian, right? Oh, gee, he must love Armenians. They practiced all night, I might add. You notice I didn't give you one word of Armenian. I give you the general international word for all of them. Ufa. I'm surprised they didn't tell you they eat shish kebab and hummus, right? Oh, my favorite Armenian restaurant in Washington, D.C. and New York. And you buy it all up. But the controller of the city of New York sits on billions of dollars of investments in pension funds. One of the most powerful financial vehicles in the world. When there was apartheid in South Africa, the city controller rightfully said, divestiture of any company that does business in South Africa. We are divesting our pension funds. I want divestiture of any company that does business in Turkey from the city of New York. Ask Lou that. And you know what answer you'll get? Oh, but they're our friends, they're our allies. They're our allies, right? Right before the invasion of Iraq, 60,000 Americans ready to invade from Turkey. Colin Powell, our Secretary of State, bribed them $500,000 per soldier just so they could cross the territory into Kurdish Iraq. And what did the Turks do? They said, only $500,000 per soldier? Make it $1 million per soldier, we might think about it. They shook us down, they extorted us. You would have thought, at a time of war, you're either with us or against us. We give you billions of dollars each year to keep your generals in power so they can vacation with their girlfriends in Cyprus and in Europe. And this is the respect we get when we go to war. No more military aid to Turkey until they apologize. You would think, right? Israel. Oh, Schumer, forget it. If you had mentioned Israel, he would have had a coronary arrest. Armenia, he says a few nice words to you, writes a letter, and you'll see him next year give the same speech. Israel, for years, has said our only ally in the Middle East has been Turkey. They were correct. What happened a month ago? The Turkish Prime Minister looked at the President of Israel, Shimon Peres, and said, Israel is responsible for the terrorism of the Middle East. And immediately said, I'm banishing the ambassador from our capital, go back to Tel Aviv. I would have thought at that moment, the Israelis who helped the Turks catch their #1 terrorist suspect, the Kurdish Öcalan. It was the Mossad who tracked him down outside of Cairo, something the Turks could not do. I would have thought the Turks would have been grateful for the Israeli support that they've had over the years. But you know something? They slapped Israel down, and Israel continues to refuse to condemn Turkey for its genocide, even though the whole world knows about Yad Vashem, and this is wrong. And then finally, I stand here as somebody who is a broadcaster, because unlike some of the others who spoke, I recognize that there was a body laid out in front of a newspaper. I'll never forget the sheet over his head, 2 bullets to the back of his head. The executioners had took away Dink. And you would have thought there would have been journalists from throughout the world and through Turkey who would have been protesting in the streets against the violation of the journalistic code. Where were all the journalists? Where were the journalists in Turkey? Why do only a few people to this day remember the hero journalist Dink who stood up to the mob? I'll finish on this note. I was the Grand Marshal of the Pulaski Day Parade this past year. I never uttered a word of Polish. I don't know any. I never told the crowd, oh, I love pierogies and kielbasa. I don't. It's horrible food. But what I spoke about was Katyn. I said my father, Chester, my grandfather, Anton, educated me that at the beginning of World War II, when Stalin and Hitler were going to turn the Poles into speed bumps and carve it up, that it was Stalin's secret services that took 20,000 Polish officers and shot them like dink twice in the back of the head and buried them in a mass grave. The Russians, the Soviets refused to acknowledge that for years. Finally, Putin acknowledged it just a month ago in a trip to Warsaw because the Poles had been defiant. In the aftermath of Putin, no friend of Armenia, I might add, when you remember the days of the Soviet boot at the back of your neck and the KGB, when Putin threatened Poland, who stood beside Georgia and said, you invade Georgia, we will take you on. He said, I will incinerate you Poles. The Polish Prime Minister and President did not blink. And he recognized, I've got to make peace with the Poles. And then the Soviet aircraft carrying the president mysteriously went down. All day. You stood against the Soviets. You stood against the Putins of the world. You have Americans who couldn't find Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan they can because of the movie, but couldn't find the Caucasus or any of the countries in that area of the world on a map. And yet they will come to you and they will speak to you on your day in which you talk of the sins of the genocide. I suggest to you, enough of the politicians, enough of the mumbo-jumbo. It's time to get tough. Don't let them only speak of Armenians in America when they find members of organized crime. They never give you credit. Oh yeah, reality show. No, what about the doctors? What about the intellectuals? What about the wealthy contributors to philanthropies beyond the Armenian community? You never get your due. Stop acting like you need to be loved by them. They don't know you. They don't want to know you. And they're reminded of you once a year. Become a hemorrhoid to them 365 days of the year and never, ever accept their excuses. Thank you.